Chapter 12, Confident You Are the One to Get the Job Done. It's easy to look at all the things that are wrong in the world and wonder who is going to make a change. Surely there are brilliant people who could come up with innovative ideas to advance life in a certain way. Someone somewhere could figure out how to turn slums into practical places with low income housing that would be both sanitary and safe. Someone somewhere is creative enough to figure out a way to filter the contaminants from filthy rivers and turn them into usable drinking water. Someone must have an idea to address the homeless crisis or the drug problem or issues pertaining to social media and the mental health of young people. But that's not you. I get it. For a minute, forget about out there. What about the problems right where you are? I couldn't tell you the day or even the year, but I remember sitting on the couch one day next to my husband, Steve. Our four young kids were having one of those days when no one could get along and the crabbiness and fighting were constant. Finally, Steve looked at me and said, "Well, I guess this is our mess to deal with." As much as we hoped someone would sweep in and rescue us from the chaos of the situation, Steve was right. It was our mess, and we were the only ones who could change the situation. Not every problem requires brilliance or an extra measure of creative potential. Sometimes it just requires willing hearts and open hands. And sometimes one person starting is all it takes to motivate others to help. Maybe you don't have a small group Bible study at your church, yet you long for closer relationships and friends who hold you accountable. Reach out to the pastor and ask what needs to be done to make it happen. Maybe you don't feel qualified to teach the study. Could you host it at your house? Could you make a meal to bring to someone else's house, making it easier for the people to come right after work? Or maybe you notice the church property looks dilapidated. Contact your church president and find out what needs to be done to renovate it. Solicit some of the business owners from church to see if they would contribute. You might be surprised at how willing people are to get behind the project. But maybe you aren't an idea person or an activator. Someone who initiates action is impatient for progress to be made. Maybe you're a worker bee. You'll happily pitch in when something needs to be done, but you don't usually come up with the idea. Fair enough. You don't have to go far to see or hear a need. The Sunday school superintendent is overwhelmed, or the church flower calendar is blank, and no one has signed up to bring flowers to put on the altar. The homebound members aren't being visited. Send a card if you can't visit. Instead of waiting for someone else to step up or step in, consider how you can be part of the solution. When someone mentions they are overwhelmed because they have X, Y, or Z to do, take one of those things off their plate. Contribute in a small way. God didn't intend for you to carry the world. Not every problem is your issue. There's a whole lot you can't do and you can't change, but there are certain things you can and should do. First and foremost, if you are reading or listening to this book right now, I'm going to assume you are able to pray. The older I get, the more I realize the importance of doing so. The Apostle Paul reminds us our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Ephesians 6:12. Your spouse, your boss, your children, your pastor, and everyone else are not the problem. The problem is the army of evil who incites and tempts and lures everyone they can into unholiness, which means they are at work on you too, inciting you to say or do the wrong thing and inciting you to react the wrong way. If prayer is not a normal part of your day, consider it the first and only thing worth changing in your life right now. Set aside 5 minutes in the morning or a few minutes at lunch or make time after dinner. Any time is a good time to pray. I'm not going to take up space in this chapter, but know there's a list of things to pray for at the end of this book on page 173. I don't know anyone who says they pray enough, so use those ideas as prayer prompts. If you're not in a position to start a seemingly monumental task, be on the lookout to do what Mother Teresa called small things with great love. Seemingly insignificant things can often be the difference between a day going terrible and a day going well. Send a text or a card or take the time to call someone. Let the man or woman with a fidgety child go in front of you in line. Ask a widow to go to coffee or sit with a person who takes care of their spouse. Let them tell you how hard the days can be. If you are at a point that you could do something more, ask God what that more is. Keep your eyes open. The Apostle Paul told Timothy, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. 1 Timothy 6, verse 17 and 18. John the Baptist's definition of excess was this: anyone who has 2 shirts should share with the one who has none, and anyone who has food should do the same. Luke 3:11. If John the Baptist saw my closet or pantry or freezer, he'd probably ask why I haven't brought a warm meal or a fresh pair of socks or a sweater to a homeless person. Can you imagine if we, the church, started doing that? Imagine making a meal, putting it in containers, and driving around your town to find someone in need. Imagine parking the car, getting out and sitting with that person, finding out their name, praying for them, and reminding them of their worth in Christ. Hebrews 13:16 says, and do not forget to do good and share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased. God is pleased when we take some of what we have and share it with people who need our help. What might God be willing to do through you? Judges chapter 3 introduces us to Ehud, a left-handed man who was sent to deliver tribute, annual payment, to the king of Moab. Somehow he was able to get right up to the king and tell the king he had a secret message. When the king dismissed all his servants, Ehud plunged an 18-inch sword through the king's belly. Then Ehud locked the door and escaped, allowing enough time to escape, gather troops, and strike Moab, bringing freedom to Israel that lasted 80 years. A note in one commentary on this Bible section is significant. It suggests that either Ehud was born with a natural preference for his left hand, or he was handicapped. The Hebrew expression for left-handedness is restricted as to the right hand. Being merely left-handed would not have been sufficient cover for the stratagem Ehud used to approach King Eglon with a concealed weapon. We would not expect a healthy-looking person, right or left-handed, to pass the Moabite bodyguards without a body check. No, the text leads us to believe that the Moabites let down their guard at Ehud's approach because he did not look physically the part of a dangerous fighter. We can almost hear the Moabites jeer as they looked at Ehud's useless right hand. How low have the mighty men of Israel sunk to have sent such a one? When it comes to what you can and can't do in God's kingdom, it's always about who God is, not who you are. Whether you are weak or strong, old or young, male or female, a citizen or immigrant, is of no consequence to God. He is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3:20. Immeasurably more means it's too large, extensive, or extreme to measure. It's something bigger, wider, stronger, farther than you can imagine. Only God knows the reach your good works may have. That one person you build up and help out may go on to tell hundreds about Christ. The one child you teach may bring his or her whole family to know Christ. The prayers you pray today may yield exponential dividends in the future. God has work for you to do right here and right now. You are the one, and there's lots to do.